Good morning. It's Friday, September 12th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard, taking a look at your Canadian prairie weather story. I have to admit, Mother Nature has pulled a fast one on me. I explained last week, the outlook looks mild and dry as we head deeper into September, and I got half of that right. We do stay mild, but I kind of explained that I was looking toward the Pacific for some sort of change, some sort of push of momentum, and we didn't necessarily see that. But Mother Nature finds a way. It's proved me wrong here and said there is a way we can bring some moisture into portions of the prairie. And so, over the next 7 to 10 days, a lot of opportunity for rain, especially across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but opportunities across western Alberta as well, the entirety of the prairie. An abrupt shift to a rainier pattern. Again, we have a shot of cooler air coming, but we do stay mild. And then within this pattern here, there is some uncertainty within the opportunity to pick up quite a bit of moisture on here. So we'll talk about what this all looks like. But the last 10 days, it's been rather dry across much of the prairie. Again, you can find some pockets. Southern Manitoba continues to find ways to sneak in little thunderstorm clusters. We even saw some severe weather about 48 to 72 hours ago with a line of storms sneaking through that area. But in general, a lot of dry terrain across the prairie here over the last 10 days. So we take a look at the satellite picture. This is what we've got here, this animation. The jet stream continues to do something like this. We've got this ridge out here. The jet stream flows up over the top of that, but we've got this little upper level low, this little bit of flow that's kind of snuck in. I mentioned the split jet stream. Well, the southern component of that has now kind of pinched off this little upper level disturbance that's just kind of spinning and meandering here over the next 3 to 4 days. And as it does so, drawing some moisture up there, and it's going to produce quite a bit of opportunities for some rain across the prairie down into parts of the western Corn Belt. So starting off Friday morning, not a whole lot going on. Again, I mentioned some thunderstorm clusters here over the last day or two across southern portions of Manitoba, down into the Dakotas, parts of northern Minnesota, but not a whole lot going on elsewhere across the prairie here early on Friday morning. And as I animate the NAM model here, we'll talk about when the showers and storms really start to lift into the area, and it's really as we get into Saturday and Sunday. I expect much of today to be quiet. This is Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Maybe a couple of widely isolated or scattered showers and storms kind of developing generally south of Highway 1. And then this is our Friday night getting into our Saturday morning. You're seeing this organized area of low pressure that's really, again, cut off from the main jet stream, which is the main branch of the polar jet, flowing well off to the north of this, but enough lift right here and some moisture, again, to bring a long-lasting opportunity for some slow-moving showers and storms. So this is your Saturday midday, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, getting into the Saturday night, and now Sunday morning time frame. We're seeing this rain kind of lifting into the area out of the south and then rotating with the area of low pressure kind of back toward the west. So the rain lifts into southern portions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba first, and then expands westward into portions of Alberta, getting towards the Edmonton area as we get into kind of later Sunday into Monday. And then this kicks off the pattern here where, again, it's not a well-focused, stationary front that's reloading with widespread rain and storms. It's not a really intense upper level low. It's moisture and spin and just a little bit of flow trapped beneath the ridge here. It's still a stagnant pattern and one with the jet stream being flung well off to the north, but you're kind of the one off to the story here where now we're going to kind of trap this area of low pressure spinning overhead for much of the next 7 days with some moisture available. So it's more of a story of just repeated chances here beginning Saturday, carrying on into next week. And so I'll show you that. We'll expand it here with the European model. We're now able to pick up all of Canada here. We'll zoom out just a bit and look a little longer duration. I'm going to play out the next 2 weeks in their entirety. And you know that we get a little later into this loop. You got to kind of understand that there's less certainty the further that we go. But you'll watch in the pattern, it doesn't change much as we've got flow coming over the top and then this just stubborn little spinning upper level low across the prairie. So this is your Friday night. This is your Saturday morning. This is when precipitation lifts into Saskatchewan and Alberta. Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and then rotates westward into Alberta as we get into Sunday and Monday. Excuse me. This is now as we start off next week. This is Monday. This is now Monday night, getting into Tuesday. This is now getting into Wednesday. You've seen the first little, area of low pressure, first little subtle wave kind of lift out of here, and then we get more. There's just still moisture down here. We didn't clear it out with the front, and we've still kind of got this cutoff area of low pressure spinning around. And so we'll maybe check back in with our confidence here as we get to next week. But the models right now keeping this opportunity for rain in the area as we get into next weekend, next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into the September 18th, 19th, 20th time frame. This is now September 22nd and 23rd. And we've still got areas of low pressure lifting into the area. And this is where I express, uncertainty, where you're seeing a heavier dose of rain now across portions of Alberta as we get into September 22nd. 10 days out, do I have high confidence in this right here? Maybe not. But this is a shift, away from this really dry outlook where I was like, I just don't have anything to point at. Well, at this point now, we're rather wet for the next 5 to 7 days, and I'll kind of be curious to see how this shuts down. Temperatures, as we get started right now, we're on the mild side, especially in the east, mild compared to average. So 15 to 18 degrees across portions of eastern Saskatchewan into central and southern Manitoba. A little bit cooler across portions of Alberta, where you can find temperatures generally between 8 to 10 degrees, give or take in some areas. And then just looking at the next 2 weeks overall, temperatures on the left, precipitation on the right. This is where you see that pattern, mild overall, and now suddenly we're sneaking some opportunities for moisture, not just into the prairie. I mentioned this is kind of the one-off here, in the central part of the North America is what I'm trying to get at here. The Canadian prairie down into the northern plains, but still a lot of the U.S. here dealing with an abrupt shift to a drier pattern. You see some monsoonal moisture here out across portions of the western United States, but this is not the most heavy rain producing setup out there as well. So let's move on. I'm kind of getting too in depth on some of these maps here and kind of stumbling for a story, but the pattern here, if I kind of step back to where we started off, again, we've still got this disorganized pattern. Nice upper level low here in the Gulf of Alaska, but then you've got this high over low setup here across western North America. And so again, this is where I get at, where I'm saying this is not a sudden fix where now we've got this big Pacific jet just blasting in here. It's really just, you cut off an area of low pressure and you don't really give it anywhere to go. It's going to dump a lot of moisture across the area that it's sitting there. And this is what you get here for the next 5 to 7 days. And then we'll kind of reassess things as we get into next week. So here's your Friday. This is getting into the weekend here, Saturday, Sunday, into early next week. And you're still seeing kind of the same thing. This big area of high pressure off to the north and this little upper level low, this area of, lower pressure right in between here. And so you've got some lift and you got some moisture, and you just continue to generate showers and thunderstorms across this area until you get a bit of a pattern change. And so this doesn't happen until we get to September 17th and 18th, and really the models continue to keep the same look. If I take the drawings off and then redraw them, where do you see the dip in the jet stream? It's right in this area here where you've got some subtle lower pressure. You've got the ridge of high pressure off to the east, a bit more amplified out in this area. But, if we keep this look, you're still going to have opportunities for showers and storms across the prairie all the way out into that, September 22nd and 23rd time frame. This is just kind of showing it in another way. I've already drawn the arrows here, but here's your main branch of the Pacific jet stream being flung way off to the north, and here's your little cutoff area of low pressure. Again, it's not a consolidated big Pacific jet stream, push. It's still a very amplified, still a very at times blocked up pattern, but it's going to get blocked in a favorable way if you want some heavy moisture across portions of the area. I know we're getting close to harvest though, so this is going to be it's double-edged here. Good to get moisture to kind of beat back the fire risk, but it's not necessarily well timed here if we're going to, really saturate some of the ground here as we get close to the harvest time frame. So you just watch this jet stream. The polar branch stays way up here. You just got this flow kind of circulating up here. You can watch the date, September 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, same look here. Getting into the 18th, same look, really kind of continues to reload. Getting into the 19th and 20th, and we're still just seeing it's not a big push. It's not a consolidated jet, but it's one here where it maybe is just kind of funky in the right way to keep rain opportunities in place from the Canadian prairie down into the high northern plains of the U.S. And this is the other component of that. I mentioned the favorable flow getting stuck in a favorable way. Well, here's the moisture that continues to just be drawn northward and squeezed out by that upper level low for really the next 2 weeks. I mean, when does the moisture get scoured? It's not really until, again, watch the date up here, September 13th. So this is the near term. Here's this dose of moisture over the weekend. Again, heaviest across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, absolutely, but maybe as we get into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, early next week, we lob some of this moisture further back into Alberta. So maybe just waiting a couple of days to get the rain chances in Alberta. This is your Friday. We're all the way out to September 18th and 19th. This deep moisture is still here, still being drawn up through the plains, up against the prairie, up against the Rockies. September 23rd, 24th, and we've still got deep moisture there. It's maybe getting pushed east now, but I don't care because we're so far out. I don't care about the specifics here. This is just, I've seen enough. The next 10 to 14 days, we keep the moisture in place. And so you get a forecast like this. This is a 24-hour rolling window of precipitation. So the weekend hits it hard in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Early next week, we start to fling some of this moisture westward into Alberta, and the pattern continues to just generate rounds of showers and storms in this area. Meanwhile, dry out here, and we're just dealing with kind of some monsoon moisture at times across the western U.S. as the jet stream continues to just get kind of flung up and over this area of high pressure up here. So funky pattern, but one that is just kind of cut an area of low pressure off right in this area and keep the chance for showers and storms reloading for the next 7, 10, 14 days. I mean, this is the newest look from the European model, and this is not what I was seeing 5, 6, 7 days ago. And what I mean by that is 1 to 2 plus inches being advertised across almost the entirety of the prairie. Now, when I actually look at this from the ensembles, it's not quite as widespread with high confidence there. You see the heavier precipitation in the near term where we have high confidence is across the eastern half of Saskatchewan into central and southern Manitoba. That's where you've got a 90 plus probability of picking up another inch of rain over the next 14 days. But I wouldn't be shocked as we get into next week if we don't see any abrupt changes to this pattern, if we don't start to expand that opportunity for another inch of rain a little bit further west. It's just maybe, the confidence in the rain arriving in Alberta doesn't get higher till we get to Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday into next week. Another way to look at this, who's dry when we look at this pattern? Who's got the best chance of less than half an inch of rain over the next 2 weeks? And again, who's dry? It's out west, and it's the eastern and southern portions of North America. We just kind of fill in this little gap right here with persistent chances for showers and storms thanks to this large cutoff low kind of beneath the flow across the Canadian prairie and parts of the northern plains. So with that being said, if this were a big, deep area of low pressure with, strong flow coming across the prairie, this would be pulling some cooler air down into the region. But because it is not, because this is a ridge with a cutoff low, beneath it, we're still able to keep a lot of mild air in place across Western Canada. So, we got chances for rain. We got fronts moving through the area. So you see the cool down here from 25 on Saturday and Sunday down to a high of 19 on Monday. But we're still talking about temperatures above, mid to late September averages here, for the majority over the next 10 to 14 days. Edmonton, 28 for the high on Saturday, 27 on Sunday, down to 22 on Monday and Tuesday. Very similar look here in Saskatoon, Regina, and then Winnipeg as well. You hold on to the heat here. The warmth here into early next week, that high 26 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then 22 as you get to Wednesday. Those highs, flirting with 20 degrees then as we get to late next week into the weekend. So there you go. We'll see what we've got, I guess, a week from today. This is a tricky pattern to really forecast with confidence, but I mentioned here these patterns are also slow to move. So if over the next 5 to 7 days it's going to be stormy across the prairie, we may still be talking about a stormy pattern as we get to next Friday. Let's just save it for then. I'll talk to you next Friday, September 9th. Have a wonderful weekend.